Imagine a world draped in shadows where the light of freedom is but a distant memory. In this world, a single figure towers over millions, wielding power with an unyielding grip. A world where dissent is silenced not with gentle whispers, but with the iron fist of fear. The streets echo with the heavy boots of soldiers, enforcing compliance and crushing any form of resistance. This is the chilling reality of a dictatorship, a system of governance where absolute power rests in the hands of an individual or a select few, unburdened by the constraints of accountability or the will of the people. In the grand offices and opulent halls, decisions are made that affect the lives of millions, often without their knowledge or consent. Dictatorships in their various forms cast a long and menacing shadow over the global landscape. From the fiery speeches of leaders to the dark clouds that gather over nations, the presence of dictatorship is felt far and wide. They are a stark reminder of the fragility of freedom and the ever-present potential for tyranny to take root. The broken chains symbolize the loss of liberty, while the omnipresent surveillance serves as a constant reminder of the state's control. From the imposing grandeur of monumental architecture, designed to awe and intimidate, to the hushed whispers of dissent in the dead of night, where fear of reprisal looms large, dictatorships leave an undeniable mark on the world stage. Their influence extends beyond their borders, affecting international relations and the balance of power. The impact of dictatorships is not confined within their borders. Their policies and actions ripple outwards, influencing neighboring countries and global politics. Like a virus, their influence seeps into the global arena, shaping international relations, sparking conflict, and challenging the very foundations of democracy. The spread of their ideology can destabilize regions and create a climate of fear and uncertainty. Understanding the nature of dictatorships, their rise, their methods, and their enduring impact is not merely an academic exercise. It is essential for recognizing the signs and preventing the spread of such regimes. It is a crucial step in safeguarding the values of freedom and justice that underpin a just and equitable world. By learning from history and remaining vigilant, we can strive to protect the rights and liberties that are the foundation of a free society. Dictatorships, while united by their thirst for absolute power, are not a monolithic entity. They come in various forms, each with its own unique characteristics, methods of control, and ways of maintaining power. Understanding these differences is crucial to comprehending how they operate and the impact they have on both their own countries and the world at large. These regimes manifest in different forms, each with its unique characteristics and methods of control. From the grandiose state ceremonies to the rigid military parades, the outward appearances of these governments can vary greatly. However, beneath these differences lies a common goal: the consolidation of power and the suppression of dissent. Understanding these variations is key to comprehending their impact on the global stage. By examining the different types of dictatorships, we can gain insight into their internal dynamics and predict their actions on the international stage. This knowledge is essential for crafting effective foreign policies and strategies to counter their influence. One common form is the personalist dictatorship, where power is centralized in a single charismatic figure. These leaders often rise to power through revolutions or coups, presenting themselves as saviors of the nation. They maintain their grip through a potent mix of cult of personality, ruthless suppression of dissent, and manipulation of state apparatus. These individuals, often propelled to power through revolutions or coups, maintain their grip through a potent mix of cult of personality, ruthless suppression of dissent, and manipulation of state apparatus. They use propaganda to create an image of invincibility and benevolence, while simultaneously crushing any opposition that threatens their rule. Examples include the regimes of Mao Zedong in China, Saddam Hussein in Iraq, and Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. These leaders left indelible marks on their countries, often with devastating consequences. Their rule was characterized by widespread human rights abuses, economic mismanagement, and brutal crackdowns on any form of dissent. Another variant is the military dictatorship, where the reins of power are seized and maintained by the military establishment. These regimes often justify their rule through promises of stability and order, presenting themselves as the only force capable of maintaining national unity and security. Often justifying their rule through promises of stability and order, military dictatorships typically emerge from coups, dismantling existing political structures and installing a junta to govern with an iron fist. They suppress political opposition, control the media, and use the military to maintain their grip on power. Then there are one-party states where a single political party establishes a monopoly on power, outlawing or sidelining all opposition. These regimes often emerge from revolutionary movements promising to create a new and just society, but quickly devolve into authoritarianism. These regimes control all aspects of political, social, and economic life, stifling dissent and maintaining their grip through propaganda, censorship, and pervasive surveillance. They create an environment of fear and control, where any form of opposition is swiftly and brutally suppressed. While their methods and motivations may differ, all dictatorships share a common thread: the suppression of individual liberties and the concentration of power in the hands of an unelected few. They use fear, violence, and propaganda to maintain their rule, often at the expense of their own citizens' well-being. Recognizing these different faces of dictatorship allows us to better understand their internal dynamics and predict their actions on the international stage. By studying their methods and motivations, we can develop strategies to counter their influence and support the struggle for freedom and democracy around the world. The rise of dictatorships is rarely a sudden, inexplicable event. It is often a gradual process, unfolding over years or even decades as various elements within a society shift and change. It is often the culmination of a complex interplay of historical, social, economic, and political factors that create fertile ground for tyranny to take root. These factors do not operate in isolation. They are deeply interconnected, influencing and amplifying each other in ways that can be difficult to predict or control. One significant factor is economic instability and inequality. When people are struggling to make ends meet, when they see no hope for a better future, they become desperate. Desperation can lead to a willingness to support extreme measures and radical leaders who promise quick fixes and easy answers. When a large segment of the population struggles with poverty, unemployment, and lack of opportunity, it creates an environment ripe for exploitation by charismatic leaders who offer simplistic solutions and scapegoats for complex problems. These leaders often use rhetoric that appeals to people's emotions, promising to restore lost glory or to protect the nation from perceived threats. Weak or ineffective institutions are another contributing factor. When the structures that are supposed to uphold justice and order fail, it erodes public trust. Corruption, inefficiency, and lack of accountability within these institutions can make people feel that the system is rigged against them. When democratic institutions are fragile, corrupt, or lack public trust, it creates a vacuum that can be easily exploited by those seeking absolute power. This vacuum can be filled by individuals or groups who promise to restore order and stability, often at the cost of personal freedoms and democratic principles. A lack of democratic traditions and experience can also pave the way for authoritarianism. In societies where democratic norms and values have not been firmly established, it is easier for authoritarian leaders to undermine democratic processes and institutions. Historical factors, such as a legacy of colonialism, conflict, or previous authoritarian rule, can also contribute to a culture of impunity and a lack of democratic values, making it easier for dictatorships to emerge and consolidate power. These historical legacies can create deep-seated divisions and resentments within a society, which can be exploited by those seeking to gain and maintain power. Understanding the conditions that give rise to dictatorships is essential for developing strategies to prevent their emergence and foster democratic values and institutions. By studying the past and recognizing the warning signs, we can work to strengthen our democratic systems and protect them from those who would seek to undermine them. It is a reminder that the fight for freedom is an ongoing process, requiring constant vigilance and a commitment to upholding the principles of democracy. Every generation must be prepared to defend these principles, to ensure that the hard-won gains of the past are not lost, and to continue the work of building a more just and equitable society. The impact of dictatorships extends far beyond their own borders, sending ripples across the global political landscape and shaping the dynamics of international relations. Their actions, often driven by a combination of ideology, self-preservation, and a thirst for power, can have far-reaching consequences for global security, stability, and prosperity. One of the most significant ways dictatorships influence global politics is through their propensity for conflict. Unconstrained by checks and balances or the need to appease a diverse electorate, Dictators are often more willing to engage in risky foreign policy adventures, use military force to achieve their objectives, or support armed groups to advance their interests abroad. Moreover, dictatorships often prioritize regime survival above all else. This can lead them to adopt aggressive foreign policies to distract from domestic problems, rally nationalist sentiment, or secure access to vital resources. Such actions can destabilize entire regions, spark proxy wars, and fuel international tensions. The presence of dictatorships also complicates international cooperation on critical global challenges such as climate change, pandemics, and economic crises. Their lack of transparency, disregard for international norms, and willingness to prioritize their own interests above collective action can hinder efforts to address these pressing issues.